concept behind the project is essentially what's called a word cloud. The word cloud itself, you'll notice in some of the content behind me, will have a bunch of different words that go on each individual fin. Essentially from that point, each fin had its own unique rotation. Each rotation was adjusted based on the viewing distance of where the viewer would be placed to be able to see everything from the most ideal viewpoint. Each fin is composed of 3 different sides. The side on the back has this mirror finish, and then the other 2 sides have LED. The pixel pitch that we're working with here is a 1.9 pixel pitch, which allows for a closer viewing distance, especially from the balcony, which is where I'm at right now.
For me, most of my responsibility throughout the project, and especially as the sculpture was coming together in terms of exactly how it was going to be built, was how to create their vision, which was on paper, in real life and make it structurally sound. It's a very strange shape. It's connected together in an odd way that isn't naturally strong. So in terms of material selection, connection methods, suspension methods, how the loads were going to behave and torsion was going to be resolved, and all those sorts of things were one of the first real big challenges, even before we started thinking about it electrically or, you know, from the technology standpoint of all the video.
So one of the biggest challenges with this build is that we actually had to build most of it from the ground before we flew it up about 45 feet up in the air.
Additionally, there was some parameters that we had to remain within due to the building being historic and quite old. There were some limitations in terms of the magnitude and direction of loads we could permanently put on the building. That also affected material selection, material thickness, and it was always walking a fine line between the size of something, the thickness of something, and every choice seemed to have a pro or con in terms of strength or weight or both.
So the idea behind making the content was something very unique to this job specifically. Essentially, you had to program and base your content design around where the viewer is going to be standing, depending on the rotation of the fin and the structure itself. So you have an inside and you have an outside. Essentially, the inside of the fins are going to be viewed from downstairs, and then the outside would be viewed from upstairs in the balcony section. And so whenever you were programming content, you had to know exactly how the mapping correlated to where the viewer would be standing in the space, to know where the content needed to translate physically in the actual area. The finish on the structure itself gives a really unique effect to the LED, where everything has this big mirror finish. Essentially within that mirror finish, that allows for the LED to reflect off the back of the mirrored backside and the structure below it.
This was a bit of a new direction for us to have this sort of integration with the rigging and the LED technology and things like that. So we met John Lewis from PixelFLEX initially and sort of discussed how this might happen, and it seemed like a good fit. And then ultimately over nearly 2 years, from samples and demonstration and general sharing of knowledge, and help us on the iWeiss side of the team understand what we were getting into and how it needed to work, and also give us the tools we needed to be able to communicate to our client what was going on and what the plan was and what the options were. So it was a really good fit.
This specific project is definitely one of the most unique projects that I've done with PixelFLEX personally. There's so many unique challenges that we had to work through: engineering, cabling, power. Essentially all of the cabling and everything is actually run within the metal structure that you see behind me, and it's run up through conduit to create a very, very clean cable management.
I, for one, have always been interested in working with really creative people. I enjoy someone who has something really creative in their mind, and I help facilitate it into being a real thing in the world.
We're finally wrapping up the last portions of the build, doing the final programming, doing the final deployment of some content and testing, which has been such a cool experience to get to finally see everything come to life after working on this project for the past 2.5 years.